Hey folks, Ariel over here at Fineth, where I wanted to start in on the next big project we've been working on in pieces through the summer, which is building a chicken barn. So what you see us starting out here with doing is getting the two big beams that are going to make the foundation, because this chicken barn is going to be on skids. It's going to be big and heavy. You're not going to push or drag it around by hand for sure. But if we ever decide that it would make more sense or be more practical or useful or whatever to have it in a different spot, you could hook it onto a machine and drag it to a new spot because it's not attached to the ground. So I don't know if we'll ever need to do that, but that'll be a handy option. But since it's for now sitting in a single spot, we tried to get it all squared up and lined up with other existing things and start on putting the actual foundation of what's going to be the chicken barn together. Now, as you'll see through this build, we used reclaimed secondhand materials whenever we had them, and we bought some new materials when we needed pieces that we did not have other things to do. But anyway, the base here is some leftover pieces from a bridge that was built many years ago by somebody, and Clay had access to some leftover pieces of piling and such, so those became the foundation, and here getting them locked all together. This is mortising a joint. So this part's a little bit like if you were building a log cabin, though that's not what we're doing, but you can see how he's notching out the big beams so we can lock them together with the smaller boards, and that was the first step. And since this base is going to be in contact with the ground, the rest of the wood was already treated and designed to be in contact with the ground for its original purpose, being pieces of a bridge. But anywhere you cut into that, you kind of destroy that seal, and so we wanted to reseal that with something that would prevent any rot from developing in the base over time from moisture and ground contact. And as you can probably tell, these are pretty heavy chunks of wood, but they can be moved around and shifted with the mechanical advantage of things like a lever. Then started the process that I do not have video of lots of because it was extremely time consuming, of making sure that once the base was all connected, that it was actually square and level. And even though it seemed to take an inordinate amount of time to do that to me, I can see how as you build up from there, having the bottom start out square and level makes a huge difference in how everything else goes together from there on up. Doesn't look like it's going to fall out. Once everything got locked together using some very long and even spliced clamps, Then we were able to get, the kind of a long giant bolt threaded rod through there, all snugged up and holding it more permanently together, and then cut off the spare ends of that so that everything is locked in nice and tight. And then finally we got to do the part that seemed like actually starting on building a floor. So this is adding all the floor joists, getting them all lined up, and that was the next step. And as we go through getting these all connected to each other, it involved a little bit of straightening and holding and supporting and twisting to make them work, since some of them were less than ideal, not perfectly straight and flat boards to start with. But once you get it all set and locked in, then it was pretty nice and flat. And after that, you can see we got to start on actually putting on the floor. Except that's not the floor, that's actually the bottom of it. We started out with building this floor upside down, which you'll see in just a minute. But sheeting the bottom of it because the floor is going to be insulated. As you probably know, we live in a pretty cold climate, and while chickens don't really need external heat, they handle cold quite well. They don't do well with being drafty or damp. So we wanted to make sure the floor was well insulated and it's going to keep them dry. after plenty of screwing and gluing and trimming off a little overhang that ended up because the plywood wasn't quite perfectly square, then we flipped it upside down, because as I said, that's actually the bottom of the floor you're looking at there. And so we picked the entire thing up and turned it upside down so we could start building the building up from that point. So that was the start. From here on, it actually went a lot faster. So come back next time to see the progress. Over here at Fineth. Thank you so much for watching these videos and spending some of your very valuable time choosing to do that. We hope you found something that was useful, educational, helpful, maybe save someone else some time and trouble, or just something just plain beautiful. If you don't want to miss any videos, subscribe and hit the bell. And thanks for coming along on our journey as we build a new little homestead with our tiny house and everything to come.